Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your Master of Ceremonies for this evening, Mr. Rupert Jones Parry.
Good evening and welcome to the 8th People's Book Prize award ceremony, held again in the splendour of Stationers' Hall. May I now introduce Tatiana Wilson, the indefatigable and inspiring founder of the People's Book Prize. Tatiana.
Thank you, Rupert. Your Royal Highnesses, past master, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims of the catastrophic events in Manchester, their families and friends. In fact, Matthew Sullivan, one of our finalists, has come from Manchester today. For us, it is a happy occasion because we celebrate authors' talent voted exclusively by the public. 10 years ago, I set to correct what, in my view, was a discrepancy in the publishing industry. I therefore offered a platform to publishers to showcase their authors' work. And what better way of doing it than giving the public the opportunity to choose next bestsellers. We have been privileged to have in this hall finalists from the whole of England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, Spain, South Africa, the United States. And I believe I can safely say that the People's Book Prize is the #1 book prize because of its uniqueness and democracy. Thank you. I would like to start this evening with the Beryl Bainbridge First Time Author Award, which I created to honor the incredible, our fantastic and incredible, should I say, founding patron and mentor, the late Beryl Bainbridge, DBE.
Aptly Towers, The Lost Kodas by Myra King. Dognapped by David J. Robertson. King's Company by Jessamy Taylor. Obviously not, yes. Little Red Riding Hood by John Fiddler. Melvin McGee, Zombie Hunter by Matthew Sullivan. Meo the Meerkat by Kevin Crooks. The Wolf is Not Invited by Avril MacDonald. Irreplaceable by Louise Moore. Library Cat by Alex Howard. Teenage Kicks by Michael Bradley. Catherine Power Short Stories by Catherine Power. Quintember by Richard Major. The End of the Pier by James C. Lee. The Grotto's Secret by Paula Wynne. Valentina by S.E. Lines.
In no particular order, we have three titles that were very close together. One is Catherine Powers, the other one is Melvin McGee, and the other one is Library Cat, which is wonderful. And by the way, in my view, being a finalist is being a winner. The overall winner is wonderful to have, and we have this award, but please feel every one of you and everybody that has been a finalist is a winner, and we appreciate your work, and we are grateful to the People's Book Prize and to the public that this will enable for more authors to gain recognition, because in my view, being published doesn't necessarily mean being read. The winner is Library Cat by Alex Howard, published. And the publishers are very important. So Library Cat is published by Black and White Publishing.
Wow. I'll keep it quick. Look, Library Cat in many ways reflects the ethos of the People's Book Prize. It started out on Facebook, and I posted and I got responses, and good posts were responded to with good votes or likes, as we call it on Facebook, and bad posts fell by the wayside, and ultimately I put it all together and it became a book. But the photos in here were contributed by people in Edinburgh. The owners of Library Cat were Catholic chaplains. The home of Library Cat was a university library. It really was a community effort in a quite a strange and unique way. So this is a lovely prize to recognise it. I'm just going to run through thank yous very quickly. My parents, Mum and Dad, Maria and Michael Howard. There's no one else I'd rather be with here tonight. Black and White Publishing were great. I've got to particularly thank Jana Müller for all her great work selling this abroad, Laura Nicol for doing the publicity, and Megan Duff as well, and my girlfriend Ellie who helped edit this. So thank you very much indeed. I wasn't expecting it at all. Thank you.
The next award is the People's Book Prize Non-Fiction. Will the finalists please come to the stage as I read out their names? A Life in Death by Richard Venables and Chris Hollington, published by Thistle Publishing. Blag, Steal and Borrow by Gary Raymond, published by Percy Publishing. Chilled Children by Stuart and Amanda Jewell, published by Poems and Pictures Limited. Irreplaceable by Louise Moore, published by Thistle Publishing. Library Cat by Alex Howard, published by Black and White Publishing. Prevent and Cure Diabetes by Sarah Myhill and Craig Robinson, published by Hammersmith Books Limited. Rent Unmasked by Fred Harrison, published by Shepherd Walwyn Publishers Limited. And Teenage Kicks by Michael Bradley, published by Omnibus Press and Music Sales Limited. May I ask Mr. Frederick Fosyth to please come to the podium. I think I once introduced Frederick Fosyth at a previous book prize ceremony as the author who, if you hadn't heard of him, you must be living on a different planet. Anyway, he's here today. Famous for Day of the Jackal, The Odessa File, The Dogs of War, and many others. But before he started writing, he trained as a pilot, then a journalist. But now, he has written his autobiography, a candid look at his extraordinary life.
An awful lot of these celebratory dinners, the news is part good, part bad. The good news about this one is that the news is always good. Despite what the Jeremiahs have been telling us for years, that the book is dying, the book is actually flourishing. All that's changed really is on two fields. A lot of the old publishers we used to think of years ago, Victor Gollancz and Jonathan Cape, have been absorbed by giants. But in their wake have come a whole new crop of smaller, independent publishers who are not afraid to take on a bit of a gamble, a flyer, a chance on a new author. And the other thing that's changed, of course, is the presentation of a book. It used to be just paper between covers. Now you have the online book. You have the as a sort of a Sonny Reader type book, which can be read on a tablet. You have the audio book, which was pretty new when I was younger, which you can read as you drive to your mansion in Jordania, or wherever you have your mansion. It fills the time and the hours at the wheel without you needing to get pulled over by the police for flicking pages. You can put buds in your ears and go through a long, long airline flight, taking in one, even two novels at the same time. So the book is actually in a new rebirth. It has been for some years, and it's getting stronger. So anybody nowadays thinking, I think I have something to say, I think I would like to write that something, and I think I might have a chance of getting published, are absolutely right. The days of beating down the door of Hutchinson's or any other of the giants are over. There are lots and lots of smaller, daring publishers prepared to take you on. So that's why it's a very, very encouraging time for anybody who thinks they have a story to tell, whether it be fiction or non-fiction, because some non-fiction stories are quite amazing, fascinating, and absolutely true. You need a bit of research, of course, but if you're prepared to put in that time and research and effort, and a lot of that can be done online. In my day, when I say my day, it sounds like Methuselah talking. But when I started out, there was no online, there was no internet, there was no World Wide Web. If I wanted to find out how tall the Eiffel Tower was, I bleeding well had to go over and walk up it, which I did actually. So nowadays, there are so many aids to a new writer, which didn't exist once. So I would say to anybody, be encouraged, not discouraged. That said, I've been asked to present the prize for non-fiction. Now, I've only written 2 non-fiction books in my time, the first and the last, oddly enough. The first was the Biafra story. You have to have a few grey hairs in your scalp to remember Nigeria, Biafra, 1967 to 70. That was a Penguin special, paperback only, which upset Mr. Wilson, so it had at least that merit. And the last one has just been waved about. I would say it's an autobiography. It's a memoir from the French. What do you remember? And that didn't take very long. I'll tell you why it didn't, because I just sat at my desk and I thought back, as the way we can all do, and didn't need too much accuracy, didn't need too many facts and figures, just recalling what happened. People I knew, people I met, things that passed me by, things I attended, what I saw, and here and there a couple of sort of rather minor adventures that I had some small part in. So the first and the last, non-fiction. But tonight, it's all, for, at least in this envelope, non-fiction, and the winner is A Life in Death by Richard Venables and Chris Hollington, published by another of these new young publishers, Thistle Publishing. And the Fosyth. Hold it up to the camera. Take over.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm not Richard Venables. I'm David Haviland. I'm the publisher of this book. But I know Richard would want me to thank his co-writer, Chris Hollington, and his agent, Andrew Loney. A Life in Death is Richard's memoir, and it's the story of his life working for the police in disaster recovery and victim identification. So it feels particularly relevant to be thinking about the emergency services and the police and nurses on a day like today. So thank you very much.
The next award is the Best Publisher Award, and this is presented by past master Mr. Christopher McCain.
It is a truth universally acknowledged that a writer in possession of a good book must be in want of a publisher. Having your book published, whether in the traditional way or by self-publishing digitally, gives it a significance and permanence which goes beyond the cosy little relationship that you had with it when you first went in search of a readership of more than two. That's you and your fiercest critic, your partner. A publishing house is not a charity. It's run commercially, but it's also run by human beings who are optimists. The best publishers have a nurturing family relationship with their writers, and tonight, in the home of publishing since the 15th century, we're honouring a very small but highly selective traditional publisher which accepts no financial contributions from its authors. Its priority is to give a platform for health problems that are sidelined by the mainstream, working with the author's original proposals and editing their manuscripts intensively, improving structure and focus. Here's another clue as to who it might be. This publishing house was founded in 2009 to address readers as interested, intelligent custodians of their own mental and physical health. It's focused on nutrition, and its use of scientific findings sets it apart from much of the current trend in that field. The winning formula combines intellectually challenging subject matter, high editorial standards, and a commitment to publicizing authors' work with solid PR and social media support. The winner of the People's Book Prize Best Publisher Award is Georgina Bentliff, Hammersmith Books Limited.
Well done. Many congratulations.
This is such a complete surprise. I have nothing prepared, but really just to thank my authors in particular for making what we do worthwhile, because it is their commitment to challenging received wisdom that has made Hammersmith Books what it is. Thank you very much.
The next award is the Children's Award. Will the children's finalists please come to the stage? And this award will be presented by the Cartoonist of the Year, the talented Mac of the Daily Mail. I will now read out the finalists. An Alpha Women's Advisory Group. Aptly Towers, The Lost Kodas by Myra King, published by Sweet Cherry Publishing. Dognapped by David J. Robertson, published by Troubadour Publishing Limited. King's Company by Jessamy Taylor, published by Indie Books. Little Red Riding Hood, The Wolf, Grandma and the Woodcutter by John Fiddler, published by Creative Educational Press Limited. Melvin McGee, Zombie Hunter by Matthew Sullivan, published by Creative Educational Press Limited. Meo the Meerkat by Kevin Crooks, published by Blossom Spring Publishing. The Wolf is Not Invited by Avril MacDonald, published by Crown House Publishing Limited. Triangular Trev and the Shape Idols by Christina Gabitas, published by Poems and Pictures Limited.
Hello. I feel enormously privileged to be asked to present the award to what I think is the most important award tonight. I don't mean that in any disrespect to the other authors here, but children's fiction. If we can get children to read and encourage them to read, I think the more children's fiction there are around, the better. So I feel that's very, very important for us to encourage kids to award. So it's great that we have all these people are writing their books. And I think it's very apt, actually, that I've been asked to do this because my older sister once shook the hand of J.K. Rowling's mother's second cousin twice removed. So I'm just going to read the award right now. The award goes to The Wolf is Not Invited by Avril MacDonald.
Wow, thank you so much.
Hang on, I forgot to give you your award.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I want to give all children access to tools to help them manage tough emotions and reach their potential. And I think we can do this by creating really clever content that opens up conversations and gives them strategies for early intervention. And that's what I'm trying to do with the Feel Brave series of books. So I'm really grateful for this award because it's going to help the cause. Thank you so much. And I want to thank my publishers, Crown House Publishing, my wonderful illustrator, Tatiana Menina, all the people who voted for me and supported it. I'm genuinely really surprised. And my long-suffering partner, Rob, down there, who's currently financing this operation while we wait for the rest of the world to hopefully one day catch on. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next award is the Best Achievement Award. And to present this award, please welcome Lady Barron.
Tatiana asked me to speak to you tonight because of my father and his achievement. My father died the day his book was published. That's not bad. He was so happy to see his life's achievement in print. He came from very humble beginnings. He was a publican's son and the 8th child, and they lived on the Isle of Sheppey. From there, he got a scholarship to UCL, and from there on to Oxford. He then went to work for Rolls-Royce in Derbyshire and on to Barnoldswick, where he worked on supercharging the Merlin engine for the Spitfire aeroplane, which I think you will have heard of. They made it the fastest aeroplane in the world, and I've talked to pilots and they said they felt so good because they knew they could do it. They were the fastest, they were the best. He then went on to Bristol Aviation and headed the team on the Pegasus engine, and then his own invention was the jump jet, the Harrier. I asked him what was his greatest achievement, and he said he thought the Spitfire and his work on it, because he said being the fastest, being the best, I think he thought helped to win the Second World War. So I'm very proud tonight to talk about him and to present the Achievement Award, which goes to...
I'm just about to read a little bit. The author and the book for this award could have also qualified for the Fiction Award. An amazing, accomplished, beautifully written book, masterful storytelling, gorgeous, captivating, innovative lyrical prose. The People's Book Prize wants to recognise its inspirational content to women all over the world, that despite an unfair society, one can lift oneself out of misery through the strength and love of the woman who fought together for a better life. A magical book that speaks to every sense and to your heart. The author was born in Somerset and worked for 25 years in a women's prison in Durham.
And it is the People's Book Prize Best Achievement winner is Sometimes a River Song by Avril Joy, published by Linen Press.
Gosh, I'm totally shocked, but thank you so much. Well, thank you to the People's Book Prize for giving writers like myself the opportunity to have their work acknowledged and recognised. It's a really big thing, and a wonderful opportunity. Thank you to my publishers, Linen Press, and my editor, Lynn Michelle. I suppose in a way, I wasn't going to say this, but I need to say now thank you to all the women that I worked with for 25 years in prison for, in many ways, inspiring the main character in this book and teaching me what it is to struggle against the odds and to survive. I think that's all I've got to say. Thank you so much.
Can I now call on Mr. Tony Humphreys, Director of the People's Book Prize, who will now address the audience. Tony. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupert. I think you've already seen this evening that the People's Book Prize is very meaningful for so many authors and so many publishers. You've just got to look at the number of people who come up here as finalists to see the great variety and great depth of work that's being produced on a daily basis across the nations. Many people from overseas here this evening. Sometimes it's very difficult to choose a single winner. Sometimes more people are deserving than we have time for. This evening, we found time for one more deserving person, one more deserving publisher that we hadn't anticipated, but we felt that the People's Book Prize Best Achievement Award that you've just seen won with great surprise actually had another book, another author, another publisher that deserved recognition. So this year, we're actually giving a second People's Book Prize Best Achievement Award. It's going to be shared with another. Here are some of the comments that readers have put on our site about this book. This book examines old problems through a fresh lens and offers policy solutions that would make a more equitable world possible. Help to solve global economic inequality and environmental destruction. It makes so much sense. We cannot understand today's economic problems and their remedies unless we unmask rent. As statesmen struggle to understand why our world is locked in a profound crisis, the book explains that the solution to political paralysis requires a new form of governance. After a career as a Fleet Street investigative journalist The author was a consultant to a number of academic and political bodies, subsequently turning his attention to the failure of economic analysis and public policies in the market economies. Here's the award that was hidden here, and here's the envelope that will tell you that the second People's Book Prize Best Achievement Award goes to Rent Unmasked by Fred Harrison, published by Shepherd Walwyn Publishers Limited. Fred, come and receive your award. Congratulations.
Thank you. First, may I endorse Tatiana's remark earlier this evening that every author here today is actually a winner. Books are a mark of civilization, and you've all contributed to the attempt to rescue a civilization that's actually in deadly trouble, right? In my view, there is no way in which we can recover from the very rapid decline that we're actually observing almost on a daily basis, unless the politicians get round to understanding that we need new foundations for the economy on which to reconstruct our civilization. And that's what Rent Unmasked is all about. And I'd like to thank my publisher, Anthony Werner, who's been publishing my book since the early 1980s. He's believed that ultimately, if sanity is to prevail, we need an ethical economics. And if you want to understand how to reconstruct a civilization that's in bad trouble, please visit the website of Shepherd Walwyn and read the Ethical Economics Catalogue, and there you will find a richness that is nowhere available anywhere else. Finally, this is a wonderful evening for me because my wife was the very first one to achieve an honour for a prize for her first book, and that was her first book quite recently, whereas I've been trying since the 1980s with no recognition. So finally, in the Harrison household, we now have equality. Thank you.
The final award will be the Fiction Award. Will the fiction finalists please come to the stage? Can you manage here? She's not. And again, the presentation will be made by the patron, Frederick Fosyth. I will first read out the fiction. Catherine Power short stories by Catherine Power, published by On Stream Publications. Murder Ring by Lee Russell, published by Oldcastle Books. Quintember by Richard Major, published by Indie Books. Rickshaw by David McGrath, published by Thistle Publishing. Sometimes a River Song by Avril Joy, published by Linen Press. Surfing in Stilettos by Carol Wire, published by Delancey Press. The End of the Pier by James C. Lee, published by Troubadour Publishing Limited. The Grotto's Secret by Paula Wynne, published by Prado Press. The Modigliani Girl by Jackie Lofthouse, published by Blackbird Digital Books. The Shift by R.J. Mitchell, published by McNidder and Grace. And Valentina by S.E. Lines, published by Blackbird Digital Books. Mr. Forsyth.
Well, as Tommy Trinder used to say, anybody remember Tommy Trinder? A few. You lucky people. You get $2 for the price of one, perhaps the short straw. Non-fiction, which is really my own speciality, not the other way around. Fiction not the earlier one, non-fiction, which I only ever did 2. This title covers just about everything I ever wrote. And I found that when I tried to analyze what is fiction in book form, it came up with 10 categories, of which I only ever really did 1. If you pass through historical, romance, dynastic, fantasy, horror, and so on, you end up at the tail end with police stroke detection stroke crime, and right at the tail end you have international thriller, which is what I did. It was really all I did. And it got me into a few scrapes. I didn't mean to get into them, it just didn't happen. I mean, the first one, The Day of the Jackal, I happened to be a Reuters correspondent in Paris in 1962-63. Again, you have to have a few years on the clock to remember the death of Kennedy. I mentioned the death of Kennedy to someone the other day. He looked at me absolutely blank. Not only did he not know about Dallas on the 23rd of November 1963, he didn't even know who Kennedy was. This is one of our brightest and best at university. And I was in Paris for those 2 years, watching repeated attempts by the OAS to assassinate Charles de Gaulle. Pretty heady stuff, because La Belle France in those days was on the threshold of revolution or coup d'etat. Presidential assassination is pretty serious stuff. And I watched them try to kill him 6 separate occasions and fail. And I finally formed the view they're not going to succeed. They're going to fail because his bodyguard and protection teams are just too damn good. On the other hand, thought I, they might. There is a way. It's to bring in a foreigner with a sniper rifle. Nothing much happened. I went on with my career. 7 years later, back from Biafra, skint, very skint, out of a job, out of a flat, camping on someone's sofa. I thought, what do I do now? I know, thought I, stupid to a fault, I'll write a novel. And I was warned, of course, don't be a damn fool, it's only 1 in 100 it'll ever get even read by a publisher, 1 in 1,000 it'll be published, 1 in 10,000 it'll be a bestseller. But innocence has its own rewards, and so I sat down and I thought, just supposing they had, I mean, supposing the OAS really had hired a foreign professional hitman to kill their own president. And then I just sat down and started writing, and it came out 345 pages later with the lines, how was the line? The Day of the Jackal was over. And even then I wasn't quite certain what I'd written, because I wanted to write a story where the man, the hero, protagonist, whatever, was he a hero or was he a villain, had no name. We never discovered at the end who he really was. We only discovered the one false lead, but not who they buried in that porpoise plot in Paris. So I called him, I thought, bear, python, cobra, all the various lethal animals, and came up eventually with the most elusive of them all, the jackal, who just arrives and does what he does and then disappears and is gone by morning. And I'd called it just the jackal. And I got to the last line of the last page, the Day of the Jackal was over, and I thought that's not good enough. And someone might think it was a treatise about an African mammal. So I went back to the beginning. In those days, typewriters had rollers. I rolled the first page back in, and I typed the words, "The Day of," in front of what had been till then the title. And there it is, there it is. I got stuck after that. I don't mean I got stuck for ideas, or lots of ideas. The publisher, I thought, would take a one-off, just a one-off. Then I'd go back to journalism. But he came back to me and he said, we'd like you to do 2 more. I'd like to sign you, said he, to a 3-novel contract, which was a hell of a flyer. I mean, a major risk. Nobody had ever heard of me. I hadn't sold a copy. He said, do you have any other ideas? Of being a journalist, obviously, I was a superb liar, still am. And so I said, ideas? Dear Mr. Harris, I have ideas coming out my ears. Of course I hadn't. But I went back down to the street and walked up and down and thought, what the hell do I know about? I've got to pick things I know about because I knew my Paris intimately, and that was why I'd been able to do the Jackal with very little research. And I thought, I know about the Nazis because I'd been in East Germany, again for Reuters, and I know about white mercenaries in Africa because I'd marched with them in the deep forest. So I wrote out 2 synopses, gave them to Mr. Harris, and he flicked through them and said, Nazis first, mercenaries second, and I want Nazis by the end of next year. This was 1970, autumn of 1970. So I'm back into journalism, basically. It's really, and I never really left it because I got myself stuck with some kind of a reputation for authenticity. If I say that cafe is on that square in that foreign city, it is, because I've been there. And that just got me my comeuppance. I've been banned from America because applying for my visa, they discovered that I'd been to Somalia. And Mogadishu is a black spot. So they said, no, you can't have a visa. You want you to come for an interview. So I'm waiting my interview at the American Embassy for the crime of going into Somalia. The reason, of course, was the kill list. I had to see Somalia. I couldn't do it online. Never have been able to do any research online. It's too damn inaccurate. So, what's all that got to do with the price of fish? Nothing. Simply to say that of the 10 categories of thriller novel, 10 categories of novel, of which a very large portion is taken up by the romance, I do not have a clue what this one is about. But suffice to say that all 10 categories cover the words fiction. And so here it is, without further ado. I don't know what this lady has written about, but it's called The Grotto's Secret. And it's by Paul Wynne.
I just want to thank Tatiana for bringing us all together, publishers, authors, all of us, and it's been a fantastic evening, and I've met some fantastic authors, so thank you, Tatiana, and the People's Book Prize. I must thank my readers, and I run a website called the Book Hub, and they've voted for me as well, so I have to thank Book Hub and my readers for voting for The Grotto's Secret. I really, really want to thank authors who have written thrillers like our patron Frederick Fosyth, because I have been inspired from a young girl to write thrillers, and I've been inspired when I've read their books to write and to learn how to write as well as they do. So I really, really want to thank all the thriller writers out there and the thriller writers that I read. And finally, because I can't go on all night, I just want to thank my husband, Ken Sheridan, who has been the most supportive husband and a wonderful man. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. You can come up with the side if you want. Well, that's it. Congratulations to the winners and indeed to all the finalists and all the authors and publishers featured on peoplesbookprize.com. So that concludes this evening. Good night and have a safe journey home, and thank you. You've just won the Best Achievement Award. How does that grab you?
It's fantastic. It's totally unexpected. I didn't even know there was a Best Achievement Award, and it's left me feeling very emotional.
Wonderful. And what gave you the idea for the book?
The idea for the book came from a documentary I once saw just about this particular riverboat community in Arkansas during the Great Depression, and I was quite fascinated by it and felt I'd like to write something about that time and that life, and that's where it came from.
Excellent. And who inspired you to write?
I was inspired to write by a writer-in-residence in the prison I worked, who became my great friend, mentor and buddy, Wendy Robertson, published writer herself.
And how important is it to you that you've been awarded a prize by the People's Book Prize?
It's hard to say how important it is, I think, because as a writer, you really do want your work to be read, and it's so difficult these days to have your work noticed and acknowledged, and that's what's so wonderful about the People's Book Prize. It does just that for you, so it's hugely important.
Thank you. And are you going to write more books?
Definitely.
Are they in train at the moment?
Yes, I have my next novel on the go.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed, and congratulations again. You've just won the People's Book Prize Fiction Award.
Yes. Thank you. I'm so excited. It's fantastic.
Excellent. What gave you the idea for this book?
My husband and I were moving to Spain so I could write full-time, and we walked onto a property and looked at the valley, and the character, who's a medieval author, and she wrote a medieval journal, and she came into my head, and I could just see her in the valley. I could see her doing things in the valley, and we bought the house, but while the house was going through, I just wrote furiously. I had to tell her story. She was there, her story needed telling, and that's the motivation for the book.
And this person presumably is the person who inspired you to write, or did your husband help as well?
No. She's the person who popped into my head, so she's the main character in the book. But I've been inspired since I was 18 to write. I've wanted to write. I've read loads of thrillers, fantastic authors, and I read because I want to improve my writing. I want to be a better author. So this is huge for me. It's fantastic.
And how important is it to you that you've won the People's Book Prize for fiction?
Oh, it's fantastic. It really explains. It's the readers who have voted and the readers who have loved my book, and I can't thank my readers enough. It's very important that readers have voted, nobody else but the readers, and that's important. So it's lovely. Thank you.
Excellent. And are you going to write another book?
Oh yes, I've got 2 more on this, in this series to finish the trilogy, and then I've got another 2 in the same series, and then I've got 2 psychological thrillers. So all thrillers, but lots more books coming. Yes.
A lot of writing ahead then.
A lot of writing. Yes, I better get home and start writing.
Excellent, and congratulations again.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye. You've just won the First Time Author Prize. Well done. For the Library Cat. What gave you the idea for this book?
It started sort of as an accident. It started with me posting little blog entries of Library Cat's thoughts online, and then people on Facebook started to like it, and then a character developed, and I'd always wanted to try and mould a character that people loved and believed in and could get behind, and it grew, and I then compiled all the blogs into a book, and some more as well, some more material, and it became Library Cat. So it was an unusual beginning to a book.
So anybody specific who inspired you to start this, or was it just take me back to when you started?
So I was a PhD, I am still a PhD student at Edinburgh University, and I study Philip Larkin. So in many ways, his sort of sense of alienation, that kind of sense of despondency, that was in the back of my mind. And also I'm a big fan of Joe Dunthorne, a contemporary author who I love. I'm fond of the works of Auden and the works of J.K. Rowling, and the typical Edinburgh diet of authors, Ian Rankin. So it was kind of, they were in the back of my mind as this was coming together. It's a very Edinburgh book in many ways.
I understand. And how important is it to you that you've won a People's Book Prize?
It's amazing. I wasn't expecting it. I was just thinking, just speaking up here to the other fellow winners. We were all preparing our disappointed faces, and then we had the luck of having to show our excited faces. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and in a way, the People's Book Prize, I think, sort of reflects the the kind of beginnings of Library Cat, it started out with people not voting but liking and sharing, and it was very much a community literary project that then grew and became a book. So in a weird way, it was a kind of touchstone there.
I presume you're still writing, and you've got another book in the pipeline, or not yet?
Yes, I've got a book in the back of my mind. 2 books, one main one, but I've got to finish the PhD first. Otherwise, the funders will be very cross.
Excellent. I hope you've finished the PhD soon, and that you get on with your writing. Thank you very much, and congratulations again. Thank you. Congratulations. You've just won the Children's Book Award for the People's Book Prize.
Yes, thank you.
What gave you the idea for this book?
Well, I had my first panic attack when I was 8 years old, when nothing was known about mental health. And it wasn't until my sort of late teens that my sister came home after she was training to be a nurse, and she had some photocopied material which explained everything that I had experienced, and it was anxiety. So this gave me this insatiable curiosity about the mind-body connection. And when I had children of my own, I wondered why we weren't teaching them all of the techniques that I'd learnt to manage my own anxiety. And with mental health now being such a current issue, I wanted to create content that helps children manage tough emotions.
So that was really the inspiration that got you writing this book, was it?
Yes, it was sort of a...
Or was there somebody in particular, or was it you?
Well, when my daughter had her first nightmare, I knew very easily how to solve that for her based on all of the strategies that I've learned in the past, managing my own anxiety, and it was a simple reframing technique. And that's when I thought, oh, maybe I could help other parents and children manage tough emotions by creating characters and stories and poems that help them find the right strategy to cope.
How interesting. And how important is it to you that you won the People's Book Prize Children's Award?
This is huge to me because I've worked for 7 years on this concept, and the last 3 years tirelessly, the last 1 year in schools proving the concept, and now I'm at a point where to take the next step I need the right partners and collaboration, which is what I'm looking for now. So this kind of awareness is just invaluable to bring it to the forefront and try and really make a difference.
Well done, and presumably there's more ideas in the back of your mind or in the front of your mind. Are you writing more at the moment?
Yeah, this is one of a series of 5, and I have 4 other stories that I'm working on now, and a lot of people are asking me for various stories based on health organisations that I'm meeting or certain situations that are coming up. For example, I'm doing a book tour in August in New Zealand, and I'm going down to Christchurch where we've had a lot of earthquakes and lost, so there's a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder down there, so I'm working with psychologists now on the best strategies and stories to help them. So yeah, it's wonderful, and I'm so grateful to have this award to help raise the awareness of what I'm trying to do.
Congratulations, and good luck with the future writing. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
You've just won People's Book Prize Best Publisher. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How long have you had the company? Since
2009 was when we started up.
So when did you start your company that published this book?
Hammersmith Books started in 2009 in response to medical authors who were looking to publish health books that were not strictly commercial in the way that big publishers want them to be, the diet books and the, lose...
The gut book.
Well, the gut book actually is a lovely book. I wouldn't criticise that, not at all. I think that's a super book. But the unrealistic diet books, which can sell in trolley loads, and that's what the big publishers want. But there was nowhere for serious book for patients, sufferers from health problems, to go to look for something that's an alternative to what the health service has on offer. And while the health service is wonderful, particularly for chronic health problems, there are a lot of issues where there are no answers. And there are authors out there who we found have got astonishing things to tell the public, and we've wanted to give them a home. And that's what we've done.
And how many books are you publishing a year?
We publish about 10 books a year, so we're very small, but we're very selective about what we do, because obviously with that as a remit, we can't take on, we have to be very selective.
And just to be able to give you a little bit of a plug, what's the big title this year for you?
Well, the big title, that's a difficult one, because we have, as I say, because we're selective, everything is, everything is a wanted book. But we have our author who's here tonight, We're celebrating a book that was published of hers last year, but we're about to publish a book called The Paleo Keto Cookbook by Dr. Sarah Myhill, and that I think will be our big book this year.
Thank you very much. And I presume that winning the Best Publisher Award for the People's Book Prize was something that you will be pleased about.
I will treasure it forever. I'm so thrilled.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
Congratulations on winning the People's Book Prize Best Achievement Award. Thank you. What gave you the idea for your title?
Well, Rent Unmasked captures the essence of the problem that we're facing in the world today. There really is only one solution to rebasing the foundations of our civilization on an economics of sanity. We've got to change the tax system, and that's the one thing that politicians won't do, and it's very difficult to get the public to understand how we need to change the tax system so that we can get rid of things like inequality, poverty, unaffordable housing, but the politicians will not engage with this problem. That's why I call the book Rent Unmasked. We reveal in the book how if we really did seriously set about restructuring the way governments pay for public services, that's what we're unmasking, we would begin to abolish all the problems in our society.
And what stimulated you in the first place to think about writing this?
Well, I belong to a tradition that goes back more than 100 years, actually. The last time this policy was promoted actively in politics was by Winston Churchill 100 years ago. The proposal was actually part of the legislation in the Houses of Parliament, but the landlords managed to throttle the legislation, wouldn't allow it to be enacted. And since then, people like me have valiantly sought to bring justice to our economic system. I'm just the latest guy fighting to bring that justice for the people who need help.
An interesting book to be published at this time of the year.
It sure is.
Absolutely. And have you got other books in the pipeline?
There are plenty of books. It's an endless stream, and frankly, it's all ethical economics. And if anybody really wants to learn about the ethics of economics, then they need to go to the website of my publisher, Shepherd Walwyn. They have a catalogue, Ethical Economics, and that has a range of books that actually gets to the heart of the problems that have traumatized our society. It explains why people mindlessly go and destroy children at a concert. That's the level of intervention that we need from the economists and the politicians.
Thank you very much indeed, and congratulations again for winning that prize. Thank you. You have just been awarded the prize for non-fiction in the People's Book Prize. Congratulations. What gave you the idea for this book?
Well, I'm the publisher of this book, not the author. The author is Richard Venables, who sadly isn't very well and couldn't be here today. But this book is the story of his life and work in the police force, which was inspired, his career really was inspired by his experience at Hillsborough, where he was a uniformed officer and saw the huge challenges and emotional upheaval that was caused by the difficulties involved in identifying the bodies. So Richard went on to work in victim identification after disasters and really advanced the science and procedures involved in that.
And the name of your publisher is?
So we are Thistle Publishing.
And how many books do you publish a year, and what is the main theme of your publishing?
So we've been going for about 4 years. We publish around 50 books a year, a fairly even split of fiction and non-fiction, and generally mainstream kind of commercial genres.
Is it important to you to have won this particular award in the People's Book Prize?
Yeah, I think this is a really special award, actually. We were here last year with Chloe Banks, and it's so good to see some recognition and opportunity for smaller publishers who are often doing really exceptional work with talented authors, but failing to get the attention that sometimes their work deserves. And, you know, this, I think, is the only prize that really is an opportunity for smaller publishers. So I think it's very special.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again to your author as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.